And there is tremendous excitement here in Zimny Stadium in Piastany for this final game of the 1987 World Junior Championship. Canada is assured of a medal. The color will be determined by the outcome of this game. Back at Zimny Stadium in Piastany, the Soviet Union against Canada. The Soviet Union, in its last 4 games, has just one tie to show for its efforts. The Canadian team, after that loss to Czechoslovakia, a 5-1 score on Monday, has rebounded for consecutive victories, 18-3 over Poland. He rifles it around the boards into the center ice area to Elnuck, the leading scorer, over to McIlwain, and he is upset as he comes in across the line. Bert Templeton is the head coach for the Canadian squad. Templeton was here in Czechoslovakia 10 years ago. His team lost. Here's the chance for Canada! Great save as Fleury cut in as he was set up by Sanapas. Wesley bumped along the boards. He played very strongly in the victory, the 6-2 triumph over the United States, and now in the corner is involved in a bit of a skirmish. As a matter of fact, Wesley, who is the younger brother of Blake Wesley, drafted by Philadelphia in 1979. It ricochets off the boards all the way down the ice. Onaenkov tried to play it around the boards. Latta was there to keep it in. McIlwain behind the net trying to get it out front. It comes to the point. Jason with a shot. Deflected. Just goes wide.
Now, one of the things you were mentioning is this defenseman, you know, Konstantinov, is that the way you say it, Don? You know, I'm not a linguist, you know what I mean, or a speech therapist. You're so good at this, I can't get over it.
But you're a good shopper, Sherry.
This guy, this guy is some kind of player and a big boy, 6'3". He's a definite. He was rated second, as a matter of fact.
Big rebound. Canada in front of a goal by Fleury.
A very, very big goal by the Canadians. A big goal.
Keane took the initial shot. Zalapukin with a shot. Rebound. Zalapukin again. Wade made the save. They score. Chesterikov on the third shot. You cannot afford to give the Soviets a second whack at the puck, let alone a third, and Chesterikov put it in on the third. And back comes Chazon. Chazon for Sanapas. He took a hit from Smirnoff in the neutral zone. Good hitting by both sides. Trying to control it. Canada attempting to get it out of there. Chazon battling along the boards with Osipov. Also in there is Galchenyuk. Galchenyuk at the side of the net. Here's a chance for the Soviets as Kurtz took a backhand shot. Wicks falls on top of it, and now some pushing and shoving following the whistle. A Canadian player is down as we take a look at the replay.
Now watch the goaltender, Jimmy Wade, stay with him. He comes right out to break the angle on him and said, hey, you're not getting any of this net, Mac. He walked out a little bit too easy. We can't afford to let him walk out like that. But Jimmy Wade is tested again, and he comes through like he's done since he took over for Sean Simpson. And that should not be interpreted, as you alluded to earlier, that Sean Simpson failed. It was the injury that really took him out. The goaltending has just been outstanding.
In the neutral zone, Wesley gains control to Elnuck and across the line to McIlwain. McIlwain was knocked off the puck. Horrible took a tremendous hit, lost his helmet along the boards in the process. 1-1 the score. Canada has been outshot so far by a 7-5 margin. It's now 7-6 as that blast by Chazon is right on. A lot of pushing and shoving following the whistles. He plays it around in the boards for Keane. He's having some problems getting out of there. Fleury comes over to help out and moves it into the neutral zone. And there's going to be a penalty here against Fleury of the Canadian team. That was a penalty after behind the play, actually.
Can't take those reaction penalties, and it's tough because, hey, with all due respect to Fleury, he's taken a lot of heat after, too, but, you know, you just got to have to suck it up a few times here because they're going to try and tempt us into that kind of stuff. He got a slashing penalty, I think, didn't he, Don?
Slashing call at 9:05.
There's that Konstantinov that we're talking about. He's their captain. That's what that K is for. And without question, one of the premier players. Played 66 games in the elite league in Russia already.
We've remarked a couple of times about some of the chippy play, the pushing and shoving following whistles. Well, these two teams are the most penalized in the tournament. The Soviets have spent 110 minutes in the penalty box, Canada 106. And 12 of those penalty minutes by the Soviets have been incurred by the coach, Vladimir Vasilyev. And this is something very unusual to get bench minors that often. Audience here in Piastani.
Without question. And all you have to do is spend some time with the people like you and I have, and you'll know that they're very pro-Canadian.
Right in. What a good move by Kirsch as he cut right in, and Jimmy Waite was equal to the occasion.
He's had two excellent chances. He's been in all alone on Jimmy Waite.
An icing call against the Soviets as Wesley got back into his own zone. And again, more pushing and shoving behind the plate. And we'll return after we pause for this message. On the basis of his play here in Czechoslovakia. Smirnov attempted to split the defense. Broken up. Canada comes back. For Lana, too far. And he must get it back.
Individual play by that young man. Great individual play. We can see some heat over there today.
I wouldn't be surprised if Pat Burns, the assistant coach for Canada, is doing a little baiting himself. The Soviet coach Vasilyev. Fired into the Soviet zone with just over 50 feet.
It's just a question of Russian mistakes again.
So Canada now leads by 2. Theron Fleury's second goal of the game, an unassisted tally. His fourth goal of the tournament coming at 18:47. He was an alert forechecker there as the Soviets made an error in their own zone, something you don't see from this Soviet squad that often.
Canada leads 3-1 after one period of play. And here's the man who has scored 2 of those goals, Theron Fleury from the Moose Jaw Warriors. And Theron, tell us about that second goal. It looked like they were passing it to you on purpose.
Well, you see, I knew they, their style is, circle back until the play, until they can get everything set up. And I just moved right in, right behind their drop pass, went in, deked the goalie and scored. That's all there is.
How tough is it out there? It looks very, very rough.
Oh, it's a real physical game. It's probably one of the more physical games I've been involved in, And the tempers are high, we're up for a gold medal, and the boys are all, everybody's just so tense, and, the tempers are flying, it's really tough out there.
What was it like in the dressing room before the game? You knew that this was a gold medal game.
Yeah, it wasn't really, how would you say,
tense?
Well, it was tense, but, nobody was talking or nothing, eh? Everybody's just in their stall, with their head down, thinking about it, thinking, we got to beat these guys, got to get down, eh? It's just, oh, I can't believe it, it's so tense,
Hoggood sliding it in for McIlwain. He had difficulty controlling it. He's taken in against the boards by Konstantinov, and they hold it for a face-off.
Hey.
Nemeth makes the shot, slides it in, and Turgeon was standing right there, couldn't deflect it. In front for Nemeth, he couldn't get a shot away. Turgeon pulls the trade. A shot bounces off a leg, off the stick of Shanahan. Turgeon gets it again. Turgeon in the corner, having trouble there with Sigurov. They tie it up for a face-off.
And Pierre Turgeon is brilliant offensively. He's got great sight, great vision. Literally knows where everybody is on the ice when he's got it. It's not only his, not only his skill and the way he handles the puck. He certainly knows where everyone is, and he's more than just a credible hockey player, and you can see why he got those ratings.
Well, he too is just 17 years of age. Picked up in the corner by Kostichkin. He takes a hit from Fleury. Fleury may only be 5'10" and 160 pounds, but he certainly throws his weight around, and now he and Monaekov are pushing and shoving. And then Sanapas gets involved with Popov. And there are a number of minor brush fires that flare up, and they're quickly extinguished, although Fleury is still involved over there with Monaekov.
There's some emotion flowing here, I think that cooler heads got to prevail, because now if there's been some penalties called and so forth, then we can't afford foolish things.
Lead pass too far for net. the wind-up to the tournament by bus for Vienna. And then they will be taking an early morning play back to Canada. And now some pushing and shoving, and Davidoff comes charging in. Hoffman is there for Canada along with McElwain.
That one, Chase. That's it. That's it.
I was just noting a scouting report on Davidoff when we were talking about it just today, and they said he holds his temper real well.
Canada leading by a score of 3-1. A Canadian victory by 5 goals will assure Canada of the gold medal. Shesterikov back of the net. As we have pointed out many times, lots of room behind the goal. Cigarette score! Pass bounces off a leg, and the Soviets move back into their own zone.
Picks her goal up in that top corner like he did it against the Americans. Another giveaway. That old backtracking, we call it.
The 2 penalized players, Lada and Davidoff, out of the penalty box. Oh, what a hit there! As Konstantinov was sent flying. Hoggood stepped into him. He had his head down, and Hoggood really caught him. Well, we had a real skirmish just moments ago following a face-off. It all started when Sanchez and Shesterikov collided. Now the two of them have got their helmets off, and Sanchez and Shesterikov are going at it. The two of them flailing away at each other, and they're going to be gone. Now we have Murray. I make that motion with the player on and another foul, and you don't see this in international hockey. You just don't see players getting their helmets off and fighting because fighting is automatic objection. Now it's Keane. He's going at it with Salapukin, Fleury, and Kostechkin are battling. Oh, is Keane ever throwing them? He has left the Soviet player, and now Sanchez is back at it again. Sanchez is crossing the line. He has left the Soviet player, Shesterikov. Everyone's the Soviet. I've never seen this in international play.
Never. I mean, there's a breakdown. This is unbelievable. There's 2 guys on the Canadian player here. There's 2 guys on him.
And now one of the Soviet players. Oh, Smirnov just kneed one of the Canadian players in the neutral zone. The goaltenders are now going at it. This is terrible.
This is unbelievable. This has never been seen in international hockey.
International hockey. The way these players are going at it.
Goalies are going
Even
at
the
it.
goaltenders are fighting. John Simpson has the Soviet goaltender down, and there's no way they can restore order here.
There's
The line,
absolutely no way. As a matter of fact, they don't know how to deal with it even.
they don't know how to deal with a situation like this.
Huh. This
Now,
is
some
an
of the
unbelievable
Canadian
scene.
players are trying to maintain order. They're fighting all over the ice.
Pandemonium here. Completely just.
Now, I don't know what they're going to do. Keane is ready to go again with Salapukin. There you see Sean Simpson. He has the backup goaltender down. This all started with Sanchez and his check on Shesterikov. But I don't know how they're going to
players first.
continue this game because in international hockey, according to the rules, this is not permitted. But what a skirmish.
This is
And
far
some of
from
them are
over
still
yet.
ready to go at it. And now Sanchez comes in. He's ready to go with anybody. Sanchez hasn't even removed his glove. He's hitting anybody around. He still has his gloves on.
This is far from over now. They're putting the lights down.
Now Elnick is involved with Konstantinov. They're trying to turn the lights off, and they've turned them off. They have
Shut
turned
the lights down in order to control the play. The referees are
in the arena, but that isn't going to solve anything. They're still fighting. I've never seen anything like this. Even in the National Hockey League, I can't recall as many real fights taking place. Most times, it is just a pushing and shoving battle. But right here, they are flailing away at each other. Everybody paired off. Usually, you see them grabbing each other and just hanging on. But not here. They paired off and they really went at it. Now, Steve Nemeth is trying to get the players back to the benches. Now, they might just have to call this game.
Yes, there's no question about it. There's utter pandemonium out here and complete disorganization.
The officials have left the ice. The officials have gone off the ice. The ice, of course, is littered with equipment.
Now,
and the fans here in the building are shouting, "We want hockey."
it's going to take some complete reorganization. There'll be some committee work going on at some meetings. I see the officials down there now in the penalty box area are calling for the officials of the tournament as to how to deal with it. You'll notice the clock has been shut off. The clock has been shut off and set back to 0.
Now, I don't know which team was the first to leave the bench. I was watching the action down in the corner involving Santa Claus, but I think Canada may have been the first off the bench.
No, I don't want to sound like a homer, but I think when the fight was on, the one Russian player jumped out over, and he was just about 4 or 5 feet, was on the ice at least, and then the Canadians came.
Well, one Soviet player may have been the first on the ice, but the entire Canadian bench then came out.
The fans are yelling, no fighting, hockey, 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 and it'll be interesting how they specifically deal with this problem right now. There's no officials on the ice to handle it.
The officials went off the ice. Fortunately, the players themselves stopped the fighting, and now they are going to the bench. Now, I don't know what the international rule book calls for in this situation. It's never happened.
Oh, no, as a matter of fact, I think there's going to be some decisions after, because based on the fighting rules you talked about, Don, if there's a fighting rule, hey, they all have to go. I know Steve Nemeth just went in where the referees are to get the referees.
I wouldn't be surprised if the game is over. I wouldn't be at all surprised if the game is called.
Well, I know that there's no question that they're going to, that this is held in international rules and international pros held and discussed. And without question, this is a precedent that we've never seen. I see Steve Nemeth is coming back now after talking to the officials and the referee, and we'll get some kind of a position on it.
Well, we have to wait and see what the decision is going to be. The officials have not yet returned to the ice.
Oh, the interesting thing is that those of us from Canada are even as overwhelmed as anybody here, because we weren't expecting. You're never going to expect it and never expect to see it. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with it.
Hoggood has gone off to the dressing room. The players trying to sort out their equipment. But something like this has just never happened in international hockey.
No question.
The other night in the game between Canada and the U.S., when the Canadian player Chason was ejected along with Hartman of the U.S. team, they were suspended for 1 game. Now the players are going off the ice. The players are leaving the ice. Fred Walker is down at the Canadian bench. Fred, what's happening?
Everett Sandy-Pass, you were the first one involved in that fracas on the other side of the ice. What happened?
No, I guess we was just a bit too aggressive there. Well, they've been at us all through the game, and you know, I don't think we took. I think we took a bit too much, and I think I was going to settle it down a bit. I wasn't expecting for the other guys to do it, but I didn't really expect that at all.
The Soviet responded, though.
Yes, yeah, they did. It's just. I just thought maybe the guys would get more confidence on them, because they were sticking us and everything. I was just trying to, you know, settle him down a bit.
Well, now you have to go to the dressing room. We're going to try and see whether we can find out something from the coaches later, but when the whole thing erupted over there, it was just you and the Soviet player. What got the others started?
I don't really know. I was just paying close attention to the guy that I was with. I really don't know how it all started. I mean, how the other was started.
Okay, they are looking for you now back at the dressing room because everybody's heading back there for a brief rest and I guess a talking to from the coaching staff. Calm down. There's still a period and a half remaining in this game. Okay. Everett Sanipak.
Well, this facility is still abuzz because the spectators in Czechoslovakia have just never seen anything like this in international hockey.
Well, I'll tell you, if you want a real example of it, I looked at you because I didn't know how to react. And you looked at me, we said, I couldn't believe it. And that's how amazed we were. You can imagine how the fans here were.
Well, a lot of times you will see pushing and shoving, a lot of stick work, some kicking in European hockey, but nothing like we just witnessed here at the stadium in Piastani. Right now, let's try and find out a little more. Let's go down to Fred Walker.
Well, Don, we have Wally Tatimer, the trainer of the team here, and he was near the Soviet bench when all this broke out, but he also, I think, saw some of the Soviets being sent over the bench to go and get into that brawl. Did you, Wally?
Yeah, they sent 2 guys right off the bench right away when the altercation broke out there, and the coach sent 2 guys right off the bench. It's unbelievable.
All right, thank you, Fred Walker. I agree with Sherry Basson, a black mark for international hockey. There should be headlines over this incident. Don Cherry, it's the first time Don and Sherry talked about they were surprised. We looked at each other here in the studio. I couldn't believe the Russians were fighting back.
Oh, I like that. That was good. I'm surprised that it really hasn't happened before in international hockey. The kids said it after. A lot of people don't realize. If you saw during the fight, there was a lot of kicking going on. The one thing we don't do, and you're right, I feel sorry because you know whose fault it's going to be. It's not going to be the Russians' fault. It's not the USA's fault when it starts. It's always Canada. And the papers tomorrow, I can see black mark for Canada. No matter how good we play, they'll jump all over it. It'll be absolutely beautiful how it's always our fault all the time. But the kid was right at the end. A lot of kicking going along in this game, and you don't take kicking.
The officials were totally out of control. They lost control. They were out of control themselves, it appeared from here. Are you surprised they simply withdrew from the ice? Because, I mean, this was not a National Hockey League fight where I don't think they go at it 100%.
Well,
this was a knock 'em down, drag 'em out, pure 4 brawl. I thought someone might get hurt.
Well, what happened? They've never, ever been involved in anything like this before. The referee never saw anything like what he didn't know what was going on. He just get off the ice. He didn't want to get hurt. Those guys didn't want to get hurt. That's why they got off the ice. But they didn't lose control. They never had control of it. And again, they didn't know what to do.
All right. According to the trainer, and again, we see this like you people do at home, it appeared the Soviet players left the bench. We don't know who's at fault. What do you do?
See, the big thing there is the Russians knew they have no chance. They're out of it. Right. And you're right. You never saw them ever fight before, but they're smart. I've never said a Russian is dumb. They're not dumb. They've got nothing to lose. They knew that we had to win by 5. Have you ever seen them fight back? They were goading our guys all the time, and we do not accept high sticks. We do not spears in the back. It's our Canadian nature not to take that stuff. The Russians were smart, giving them a jab, hoping they'd start something like that. They were the first off the bench, and we fell right into it. And I know it's you again, you people sitting home in your living rooms, having it all nice and quiet, maybe having a pop or 2 or a sandwich or something. You see something. How could these fellows do that? You don't know what they've been through over there and what they're going through. So don't say it's a black mark against our players, please.
Let me bring Pat Burns in, the assistant coach who was down at the end of the bench. Pat, you were by the Soviet coach. You saw him send players on the ice?
Yeah, he opened the door and he did signal for some players to leave the bench. Bert and I tried to hold our players back, but at that point in time, we probably weren't used to seeing what was happening on. That we never expected this sort of thing, that's for sure. But they were definitely the first to leave the bench, and you know, it's like Bert said, we're going to have to wait the outcome of everything.
That's it now. What do you do now? You just sit and wait until they call you back on the ice?
Well, as far as we're concerned, we have a hockey game to play. The hockey game is not finished. You know, we're guaranteed a bronze medal right now, but we're looking for gold, and we would like the opportunity to finish the hockey game. We have actually started nothing. It seemed to be the Soviet style in this hockey game to come out and play physical, and they tried to do that right off the bat. We didn't retaliate for such a long period of time, and you know, the referee basically maybe we might class as let things get a little bit out of hand until they boiled over. We still want the gold medal, and we want the opportunity to win the gold medal, and we don't think we've done anything to deserve not being given the opportunity to do so. If they're going to banish some team, then banish the team that started the altercation and left the bench.
The worst part of the whole thing was one of our guys had a Russian, and as the Russian went down, he kicked him in the stomach. Now that stuff, that guy should really get it.
We're never going to agree on this. The Russians
I'm
indeed
not
know
saying
how
it's
to
good.
fight, and
I'm
it
not
was
saying it's great, but
somebody could have got hurt.
Absolutely.
All right, Don,
That's
let's take a look at the incident that supposedly started this brawl tonight in Piestany. Here it is, Don.
Well, I think it starts when the Russian goalie makes the save, and one of our guys come in. It's been going on and on. A little shot. This is where, well, I don't know, a little shot right here. But just before that, a little shot. Yeah, I see him. He knocks him down. What's the matter with that? There was nothing wrong with that. A little check. Now what happens? Now the guy comes in and gives the guy a little shot. Now, there wasn't much. You see the Russian take the first shot and knock our guy down. Now, there you are. There it is right there. There's 12 pointing at him. He did it. Now, what are you supposed to do to that? The guy was standing there. The guy gave him a shot, knocked him down. So what are you supposed to do?
Back at the Piestany Ice Hall, we are just hearing an announcement from Gunter Sabetsky, the president of the International Ice Hockey Federation. He has just said this game is complete. It is over. It will probably go into the books now as a 0-0 tie, and that would mean that Canada would finish with the third-place bronze medal.
And you can be rest assured in there that they feel they had a shot at it. They made a great recovery from that loss to the Czechs. Give them credit. A young team that was molding, had a shot at the gold, and as you pointed out, had the silver in their hand. And now we expect that they're getting the bronze. There is some speculation that if they're thrown right out of the tournament, that Sweden moves into the bronze. That really would destroy some of those young men when they know what they've given. They've given their heart not only for the team and the country, and I don't want to really make this a mishmash about it, but it is emotional. You are representing your country, and if you don't get that feeling when they raise that flag and play that national anthem, hey, you don't have any blood pressure, I'll tell you that.
Well, Don, as I was speculating earlier, Canada will not wind up with the bronze medal. In fact, the news is even worse than that. And with me is the Director of Operations of Team Canada, Dennis McDonald. Dennis, what is the verdict?
Well, basically, the Directorate has met, and they have decided that both Canada and the Soviet Union are no longer eligible for any of the awards in the tournament, and all of their points, wins and losses, will be struck from the records, and they are now looking at the new medal winners.
This is a black mark on the eye of junior hockey.
There's no question it's a real setback, and something that is a real tragedy, I think, for hockey, not only in Canada but internationally. We had established such a good relationship over here with our style of play in the last 3 or 4 years with our national teams, and this will certainly take a lot of time to erase.
Let's just set the scenario for a moment, because you went behind closed doors with members of the International Ice Hockey Federation. What was the discussion about?
Well, basically, the recommendation right off the top was to suspend the two teams, I guess in my heart I had somewhat the same feelings. However, in looking at the discussion itself, I felt that there was some possibility that individual penalties could have been given out in a severe fashion, and the game could have continued as it normally would at home. Certainly the people that were the key instigators in the fight around the goal net and the people that led the charge from the bench could have been dealt with, and then the game could have continued. But the rest of the people at the IHF feel that this is such a black mark on the hockey scene in Europe, and that they must, in this sense, make the penalty very, very severe, and every one of them was in agreement on that accord.
So we didn't get the medal, but at least we stood up for it.
Both teams have been disqualified, and that is as it should be, a disgraceful incident. There's no justifying it. I don't care who went over the boards first. It appears the Soviets did. I'm not blaming the Canadians. Both teams are wrong. Both teams have been disqualified, and they should be disqualified. We talk about the feelings of these young men. These young men had better learn, and learn quickly. You don't go through life conducting Pier 4 brawls. Stay with us. Sports Weekend will continue right after this.
Well, this is a day that will long be remembered in Canadian hockey. Coming into this game, Canada had a chance for a gold medal. The stage had been set. Ideal was the situation. The Finns had defeated Czechoslovakia. Canada was playing against the Soviet Union. A game between Canada and the Soviet Union, Sherry Bassin, is always one of emotion, always one of great skill by both teams. Canada had its work cut out. They had to win by 5 goals because of the goal differential factor to claim the gold medal. But they had jumped into that 3-1 lead. They had a 4-2 lead when play was halted. They were assured, if they won, of a silver medal. If they lost, they would still get the bronze. But it looked as though they really had a shot at that gold medal. Now they go home with nothing. The Soviets, absolutely nothing to lose. They were in 6th place in this tournament, their worst performance ever. They come out of it laughing.
Kiason. No, už som si myslel, že aj tento zákrok ponechá rozhodca Roninka nepotrestaný. A už sa opäť bije, už sa opäť.
Well, we had a real skirmish just moments ago following a face-off. It all started when Santa Pass and Testarikov collided. Now the two of them have got their helmets off, and Santa Pass and Testarikov are going at it. The two of them flailing away at each other, and they're going to be gone. Now we have Flurry. I think that Joseph with the player on and another foul, and you don't see this in international hockey. You just don't see players getting their helmets off and fighting because fighting is automatic. He's going at it with Salapugan, Flurry, and Rostinian are battling. Oh, if he never throws it, he has left the Soviet player, and now Santa Pass is back at it again. Santa Pass is running along. He has left the Soviet player, Testarikov. Everyone is on you. I've never seen this in international play.
Never. There's a breakdown. This is unbelievable. There's 2 guys on the Canadian player here. There's 2 guys on him.
And now one of the Soviet players. Oh, Smirnov just kneed one of the Canadian players in the neutral zone. The goaltenders are now going at it. This is terrible.
This is unbelievable. This has never been seen in international
hockey. The way these players are going at it.
Goalies are going at it.
The goaltenders are fighting. John Simpson has the goaltender down, and there's no way they can restore order here.
There's absolutely no way. As a matter of fact, they don't know how to deal with it even.
They don't know how to deal with a situation like this.
Huh. This is an unbelievable scene.
They're trying to maintain order. They're fighting all over the ice.
Pandemonium here. Completely just.
I don't know what they're going to do. Our team is ready to go again with Salapugan. There you see Sean Simpson. He has the backup goaltender down. This all started with Santa Pass and his check on Testarikov. But I don't know how they're going to
players first.
Continue this game because in international hockey, according to the rules, this is not permitted. But what a skirmish.
This is far
some of them
from
are
over
still
yet.
ready to go at it. And now Santa Pass comes in. He's ready to go with anybody. Santa Pass hasn't even removed his glove. He's hitting anybody around. He still has his gloves on.
This is far from over now. They're putting the lights down.
the National Hockey League. I can't recall as many real fights taking place. Most times, it is just a pushing and shoving battle.